Hi,
Hello.
Carrie, could you make me co-host?
Yes.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. Almost like I live on Zoom now. I just got off the ZBA. It's like, okay,
Yeah,
can I just do Zoom all night every night?
nice that they got off this account in time so we could start. I appreciate that.
Well, Carrie helped them do that. So,
Good. All right. We got one more minute. We'll get started. Hi, Beth.
hello.
Hi, Elizabeth. Um, we're just about to start. We have a hearing that starts at 6 o'clock. It'll take just a couple minutes, and then I'm going to call on people if they have comments or anything. Okay.
Oh, okay. Thank you. That's helpful.
Thanks. And I see Jeff is here from DCR. Hi, Jeff.
Hello there.
You look like you're in your car.
I am. I just got off the soccer field with my son, so bear with me.
Okay, are you driving while you're talking?
No, I'm we're sitting on the side of the soccer field.
Good. All right. All right. All right. Well, let's call the meeting to order, 6 o'clock of the Shutesbury Conservation Commission. Present tonight are Miriam DeFont, Mary David, and Beth Wilson from the commission. And to review the agenda, we have a 6 o'clock continued public hearing for the Camel Brook Bridge repair, notice of intent. And then we'll move on to the rest of our agenda. So I'm opening that public hearing. So welcome. And resuming that public hearing, I mean. And we don't have all the documents yet. So my understanding is the plan is we will be continuing the public hearing to July 27th. Right? And when are
Yep,
you going to hope to have the updated plans to us? What was?
Yeah, that would be our request, is to continue at July 27th hearing. But we would have the documents to you 1 week prior to that, if that works for you.
That sounds great.
And we will at least 1 week prior to that. So my goal is to have it by middle of next week.
Great. All right, so I'm assuming commissioners, we're gonna also meet at 6 o'clock on the 27th. Are we liking 6 o'clock?
Yeah, I like 6 o'clock. That's good.
I like 6 o'clock too.
Okay, 6 o'clock it is. So we will continue. Could I have a motion to continue the public hearing to July 27th at 6 p.m.?
Motion to continue the hearing to July 27th at 6 p.m.
Second,
Second,
and David,
Aye.
DeFont, aye, Wilson.
aye.
Okay, thank you so much, Jeff. That was easy.
Thanks for your patience. We'll be
All
seeing
right.
you soon.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so welcome everybody. And we have a very light agenda tonight. We just got a few business details that we'll get to. We don't have any minutes to review. I thought we'd have some discussion. There is some follow-up discussion we need to have after our meetings this week, and some new issues around those. And we have some site visit scheduling and discussion that we have to have. And also Mary and I had the pre-construction site visit with the contractors for the Locks Pond Road culvert replacement. And I thought that went really well. And we'll talk about that later tonight. Sound good? Okay. So Elizabeth, you had your hand raised. Is this a public comment?
It is a public comment if this is okay to start now.
Yeah, I think that's okay.
Okay. Dear Conservation Commission, in the meeting last night, we witnessed the chair of our select board scolding the Conservation Commission for asking our legal counsel, Donna Brewer, questions. The chair stated that it was inappropriate for you to ask her questions. This seemed very odd to us as we are members of the public who presented findings of our lawyer on an issue directly relevant to the work of the Conservation Commission. Intuitively, it seemed to us that the Conservation Commission needed a chance to review our findings and to make sure that they understood them and to be able to ask any necessary or clarifying questions. We decided to check with Attorney Brewer, who is an expert in municipal law, whether there is any reason to think that our Conservation Commission is misbehaving, as our select board chair suggested, by asking her questions at a public meeting related to a document submitted by a group of students. Residents. Yeah, I've been with students all day. Sorry.
We're all students of life.
And that group of residents, as you know, is Smart Solar Shutesbury. And our legal counsel, Donna Brewer, refers to Smart Solar Shutesbury's legal counsel. Question is it inappropriate for our Conservation Commission to ask the counsel of a citizens group questions about a public document submitted for consideration at a public meeting? Last night's, this is the answer that Attorney Brewer gave us. Last night's meeting was a public hearing. It is the venue for the commission to engage with the public to ensure that all views are considered before the commission takes action. It is absolutely appropriate for the commission to ask questions of counsel for a citizens group on topics pertinent to the matter under discussion. The back and forth was akin to the planning board asking questions of an applicant's engineer, surveyor, or lawyer when discussing a proposed subdivision. While some of the questions likely would have been directed by the chair to the commission's lawyer, such as the quantum vote to approve an amendment to a general bylaw, the commission did not have a lawyer of its own that it could ask. The question and the answer were not reflective of any opinion or agenda, but were rather straightforward statements of law. As for other questions, again, there is no reason that the commission could not engage with an expert of an interested party, as is commonly done at public hearings of land use boards. And if you will allow me one more minute, I will do the other question and the Attorney Brewer's answer, and it'll take about as long. Is that okay?
It's okay.
Thank you. Is it inappropriate and or legal for the leader of the select board of our town to attempt to close down a conversation between the Smart Solar Shutesbury Council, you, meaning Attorney Brewer, and the Conservation Commission regarding a public document that is part of the meeting? This is Attorney Brewer's answer. There is nothing illegal about a member of the select board voicing her opinion on whether the Conservation Commission should engage with council or an interested party. The member has as much of a right to speak at a public hearing as any other attendee. For that reason, I would not describe it as inappropriate. It is, however, within the discretion of the Conservation Commission to decide what questions to ask and to whom to direct the questions. The commission was fully aware of who I represented, that is, Attorney Brewer represented, and can take into consideration when weighing my responses. The point of the public hearing is for Conservation Commission to get whatever information it would like from attendees. Nothing done last night overstepped the Conservation Commission's bounds. So Smart Solar Shutesbury would like to thank you for this moment to be able to read these and her answers. And we hope that this frees you up, helps free you up to do your good work on behalf of so many residents who appreciate and support it. Thank you.
Thanks for the comments. All right. Sharon, you have your hand raised, and go ahead.
Okay, thank you for this time. This is very short. I just wanted to talk about the review that Attorney Brewer wrote for Smart Solar Shutesbury, the review of the Wetlands Protection Bylaw as well as the regulations, and that we noticed that it had been taken down from the Concom's website, and we inquired about why it had been taken down, and it had been taken down by the chair of the Web Communications Committee. We don't know.
That's not correct. I took it down at their request.
Oh, they requested that you take it down. Right. And we don't know what the chair of that committee had to do with it, or if she was instructed by someone else, but we also checked with our attorney about that, and though she said it's they have every right to take it down or to request that it be taken down, it's also inappropriate and unsupportive of the work of the Conservation Commission, and not in the public interest for that request to have been made. And so we are requesting that the Concom put that back up again on the website, the work of our attorney, which should be available to people to look at, because it's important piece of information for decisions that are being made. So that's all I want to say.
Thank you. Okay, and I think we're not going to respond to that right now. We're just going to move into the rest of our agenda, and maybe we'll take up those items a little later, if that's okay. Next on the agenda, I wanted to just have a brief discussion with the commission. So I'm not expecting that we'll have public comment right now, because I'd like to give us an opportunity to talk amongst ourselves, just to get, talk about the last couple of meetings and, how the hearing went, and any kind of thoughts about, our draft regulations.
I thought the hearing last night went really well. I mean, it seemed like we got feedback from both sides, a lot of very positive comments about the current regulations. Some like direct questions, like Mark Rivers, like direct questions, which I think is really important. You asked Miriam about, I think you asked Janice about imagining like a shorter more concise sort of version of the regulations, which I thought was interesting that you brought that up. and you know, I do feel like it's still a draft, and I think we're still taking in comments from the public, from apparently different lawyers, and you know, I'd like to continue to even meet a little bit about it, and you know, and keep working on it, I guess. But in general, I thought the comments were positive.
Mary, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I was encouraged by the meeting. I thought it was a good meeting too. I think there's a lot of feedback. I think we should keep working on them and look over the feedback, because several of them address the same issues, you know, to look at and update it. I'm not sure how we make it shorter, but the idea to take all the definitions and put it into the back as a resource definition might make some of the other pieces shorter, but I'm not sure if it'll make it more confusing for people to have to keep shifting back and forth if they want to look up the definitions. I definitely think we need to look at all of the reviews and then look at updating, you know, putting the updates in and taking a look at what it looks like once we make all those changes.
Yeah,
yeah, I agree.
I thought it was a good hearing, and I appreciate the diversity of opinions, because I really wanted to hear, I didn't want to hear just attaboys. I really wanted people to read the regulations, and I was really glad some people spoke up who had read them. I really appreciate that. Even if the comments were about questions or concerns. And I did take some notes, and I think the idea of an addendum, Mary, was not for definitions, because definitions are kind of a core part of regulations. They have to be part of the regulations. Mm-hmm. It was for references and some of the charts and kind of auxiliary information that was not core, I think is what one of the suggestions was. Yeah, I'm not sure about making it shorter. Like I don't feel like it's too long. My takeaway was that I have not had time to pore over these two legal opinions we got. It's been a busy week. We got one on Monday morning, and then we got another one sometime on Tuesday. I can't remember. So and it's been a busy week. So I really need to read them through and digest those. And what I would like to propose is that I get back to the commission with a revised version, maybe incorporating some of those comments. The other things that I wanted to think about, and I thought these were excellent questions. I think that we need to rethink, and I'd like to suggest that we rethink the tree removal policy. And, I talked with a couple of people today who are wetlands agents, conservation agents elsewhere. And, I think there's a good argument for having some process where people could remove a mature healthy tree, if there was, compelling evidence that there was a danger to a house or structure.
But yeah, I after the meeting, I didn't really speak up too much last night, but that often comes through as an emergency cert, because the emergency cert is always sort of the fastest way for somebody to deal with something. And I just seen a lot of those type tree. It's a healthy tree, but it's, leaning a little bit towards where we park all of our cars or something like that. And that's how it can be handled that way.
We did that, as you remember, we had an emergency cert last year down sort of near Atkins Reservoir, where there was a leaning tree that was going to fall on somebody's garage. And and would we require an arborist's opinion or an assessment as part of that process?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would think so.
I think that's what we need to decide. That question, and the same thing goes with the question about where can people use salt. I mean, there are a lot of restricted areas of road that are right next to waterways where it's a no salt zone. We need to look at that, and are there alternatives to salt, which I know there are.
Well, and I think, you know,
Yeah.
that opens up another question, which is, you know, we know that salt is used by the highway department. And, you know, that has to do with, you know, de-icing for traffic safety. But there's also, you know, questions about salting the road during the summer for dust management. And as you know, the highway department also sprays the dirt roads with a type of salt, calcium chloride, periodically for dust management.
Yeah.
So, you know,
It's an interesting question to look at.
It is a question.
Yeah.
I think we need to talk about that and figure it out, I guess. But, you know, probably sooner rather than later if we're working on these regulations.
Yeah, I think, you know, like there are alternatives to just straight up salt. And so I guess I don't think we want to just go right ahead and say, oh, yes, for driving safety, everybody can use salt, even if you're within 100 feet of a resource area. Because, you know, like you're saying, there's a lot of places across the state where you see, you know, low salt used because it's a drinking water watershed. Then there's also just alternative salt options out there that maybe we can kind of say, you know, no, because if you're within even 100 feet of a resource area, you know, we prefer that you use an alternative form.
You know, as I shared with you guys some documentation, I also shared it with the highway department in New York State. Highway departments cannot use calcium chloride within 100 feet of wetlands on roads for dust management during the summer.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And the same thing, there are a lot of the roads, you'll see the areas marked as, you know, no salt for the areas to do that. And I'm not sure if that's a mass regulation or not. That's why I think we need to look at it a little more. And
I don't think it's a mass regulation. I'm guessing it's local regulations that establish that. Watersheds for drinking water, I imagine.
Right. Well, but the Quabbin and Wachusett reservoirs, the roads are all marked around those.
Are they?
As you know, I think they usually says low salt, you know, and they're kind of like warning drivers that this area, low salt is used. So be careful, you know, because it might be a little slipperier than another area. So it's definitely something. In Amherst, we sample monitoring wells near roads for sodium and to constantly kind of try to keep track of whether it's impacting the groundwater. So it is something to look into, and it is something that we definitely have the right in the regulations to kind of tell people that they can't just definitely use it, you know, for safety.
Okay, so, you know, those are big questions, and I don't know, Beth, would you like to take this on and come up with, maybe look at our regulations and see if you have some recommended changed language?
Sure.
Could you do that? I would be. If I have any resources from other towns that I've collected, I'll send them to you. Because I have collected a lot of regulations from other communities, and I can look through them. So that's what I'm going to propose to you guys, that I go through and develop a new revised draft, because you know, I think that clearly the draft that we have on our website is our first good stab, but I think that clearly there is some language that needs to get altered, and I'd like to make those changes. What I think I'll do is I'll take the draft and I'll use crossouts to add text so you can all see where the changes are. And then anybody else that, you know, when we put it up on our website and anybody else can look at it, they'll be able to see how it differs from the first version. Does that sound all right?
And I'm glad we're getting a lot of written comments in too, which
and I haven't
gone through and looked at some of them.
I haven't looked through them all, so I will look through some of them. And I will look through all of them in greater depth. I just haven't had a chance to do that. And what else can I say about that? So about the website, you know, I would just want to share with the commission that I made kind of an executive decision when we received the opinions and the documents from the select board on Monday morning to put them up on the website, because I felt like the public had a right to know these comments, and it was in everybody's interest to make them available. And also because if people asked for them, if they were talked about in meetings, then people would be like emailing the Concom asking for them, and that can get kind of time consuming trying to respond to those. So sometimes for me, it's just easier if the things are available on websites and I can just say, go look at our website. It's available on our website. And so when we got this second opinion, our documents from Smart Solar Shutesbury, I put those up as well, because I imagined they were going to be discussed. And I took them down at the request of the web committee. And I also took down Mr. McGregor's opinions, because I decided, you know, we need to talk about what we want on the website. And yeah, because, you know, neither of these legal opinions were or edits came from our council or from our work specifically. They came from outside parties, the select board's attorney and also the Smart Solars group. So that's a question I want to ask, is what are we going to do about the website? What kind of content do we want to have on it?
So
your hand raised.
I think, you know,
wait, Carrie has her hand.
Okay,
Wait.
go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Carrie.
Thank you. I just had maybe a suggestion that would maybe kind of be not like a compromise, but how I could make it. What I was going to suggest is I expedite these minutes, like the minutes from last night. And because I'm assuming both opinions were discussed, attaching them to the minutes. And that way the minutes from the public hearing could be posted along with them to like accompany the minutes. It would normally be attached anyway.
So that's a good idea. And really, in all fairness, what we should be doing is attaching to those minutes a list of all of the comment, at least the names of all the people we received comments from by email, because we did receive a lot of email comments, which I've all forwarded to the commission. And Carrie, you should have them in your inbox. So
yeah, I already have them printed out. I have a whole file made for the regulations.
So one option is for us to take all of the comments in, you know, Smart Solars as well as everybody else's, and put them in a PDF and put them up on our website. And also attach the minutes. That way people would find them in two different ways. We're not just putting up one party's comments, we're putting everybody's comments up. That would be one suggestion I have. Because I know that I think that in some cases with public hearings like this, you know, like the state does this when they're having public hearings for legislation. You can see the public comments, the written comments. You can go to the state website and look at the comments that the legislative committee is reviewing. So that is a process that is probably.
So I think, I mean, you know, I think we solicited public comment, you know, and public should be able to see what the comments are out there to see if people have opinions about them. And I really don't think we should be limiting that. If we put out there to say, we want all the opinions and we'll gather the information, then the opinion should be available. Especially, like I said, we solicited it. It wasn't non-solicited. We asked people in the public, this is their comment period to put the comments in. It's kind of hard to be selective about which comments you put in and which you don't. I guess that's
my... I think that's the one thing you shouldn't do. I think Miriam's right that, you know, and we could just start doing it for any meeting where we receive any public comment at all, have sort of a folder on our webpage that's, I don't know, in Amherst they do packets for meetings. And so you can go to the packet for a meeting, and in there would be like all the public comments that have been submitted for that particular meeting.
Well, maybe they should be attached to the minutes then.
Yeah, but that comes after the meeting. Like this is prior to the meeting. A packet's created that's really for actually, you know, like it would be really a packet for all the COMCOM members.
Okay.
But they make those packets public, and often what would have been like, you imagine if it was like a meeting where it wasn't Zoom, everybody would get their stack of papers and that's their packet with the agenda on top and all information about the meeting. And included in there would have been all the comments that had gotten received prior to the meeting. And Amherst, they just post that on the web so that anybody can see the packet for the meeting. The thing is, I mean, really,
Work.
It's work.
Work.
It's work, and there's no requirement to do it that I really know of for the packet kind of thing. So ahead of a meeting, it's just work. And I mean, that's why it's been brought up that we didn't have to put that on the webpage. It was sort of our choice. So, you know, like there's no requirement to take it off. There's no requirement to put it up on the webpage. But we did because again, we're trying to be, as they say, like open to the public as much as possible. But it's work, basically.
Well, I'd like to suggest that we find a middle ground for this, because personally that feels like more work than I think makes sense for us and in it for ongoing meetings. But I think that a public hearing is a different matter because we're telling the public that we want comments, and the comments are supposed to be public.
Well, I mean, all of our projects, it's all a public hearing. Like when somebody comes for an NOI, it's about, but you could just specialize in like what we had last night. That was a real special one having to do with a topic that was very much more controversial. So a lot more comments came in. I mean, we don't typically get comments on an RDA application, you know?
No, we don't. And we don't go out of our way to advertise asking for comments. We just post a meeting. We don't, you know, do what we've done for outreach. So I'd like to suggest that we do it only for the regulations and any bylaw work we do.
Sounds good.
I agree with that. I think that's a good start.
And maybe we can have it, I can try to structure the website page. So I'm actually thinking it's getting to be a lot of content on that website page, and it's all about the regulations, but I'm realizing now we probably need another subpage that just deals with the bylaw, especially if we're going to be drafting a new bylaw. And that it's just too much content for one page. So maybe I'll have to break it down into two different pages somehow. So I'm hoping that will be acceptable to the web committee, that they wouldn't have an objection to that. Especially, you know, we're doing it in this way. I can't imagine it would be an issue. Okay. Do we need a motion? Do we need a vote then to do this? Can I have a motion?
I think Carrie has another question.
Carrie? I was just gonna suggest if we did make the sub page and if it's everything about the regulations, then I could go back swiftly through the minutes and kind of note which minutes have like the early discussions of it, et cetera, just so it's like a whole backlog of kind of like a beginning to end of any discussion had about it.
Yeah, I think that'd be great.
And then we can add when I finish the hearing from last night along with the opinion.
You'll have to go all the way back to January of 2021 because I remember we had a meeting.
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll just go through the agendas and see where it's listed and then go through the minutes, compile them.
All right, yeah, you can just send them to me then, and I'll put them up and try to figure out how to organize it. So,
I don't think we need to vote on this, do we?
Okay. No, I think we're in agreement. So there have been some emails, and I think we sort of resolved the question from the Smart Solar folks. I heard I was at this meeting yesterday. I'm sorry, a meeting today with Mary, and Becky Torres spoke with me and said that we would be getting an email from the select board and asking us to come to a Wednesday select board meeting next Wednesday night. And I think everybody got that email where there was they're going to have a discussion about our request for a special counsel And there was also a request that we attend a working meeting with Gregor McGregor and whatever council is appointed for the Conservation Commission.
I don't think I got that email. Did you send?
I think they sent it to everybody individually. I think, didn't they? Mary, did you get it from? I thought it was individually addressed to each commissioner. I'll have to log into my email. Is this not ringing a bell? Carrie,
No.
you check.
I didn't see anything from ComCom, but I can look.
All right, let me log in.
Nope, never mind.
It came from Becky Torres, like in the last hour. So it's like it's a lot of things happening in a very short period of time. So it was sent. Where was it sent? It was sent at 4 o'clock, and it was addressed to all of us.
I have not gotten.
Including ComCom?
Yeah. I'm going to forward it to everybody right now. Okay. Again.
Did you get it, Mary?
That's weird.
Oh, Mary, I think you're muted.
So we did get it at 4:19, but it does not have Beth's name on it. It
They
has
don't want me to come,
Miriam,
darn. I don't have
Rob.
to
Oh
come.
no, wait, it does have bethwilson@gmail.com.
Is it Beth.H.Wilson with 2 L's?
BETH and Wilson with 1 L.
Yeah, that's not my address.
Okay.
Yeah, it didn't get to you, and it was sent to Scott. So
Becky Torres's maiden name is Wilson with 1 L. So
yes, it came from Shutesbury Town Administrator.
Okay, I just sent it to you guys. So the request was that they would be considering our special counsel request, scheduling a joint working meeting, and then a follow-up discussion about our hearing. I sent a follow-up email asking some clarification, because what Becky said was that the select board would be considering our request for the approval of 5 hours for Beth Goodman to do the bylaw regulation review that we had requested using town funds, not our funds. The only I have some concerns, which is that quote of 5 hours was not based on the idea that we would also be having a joint working meeting and maybe other public hearings, and 5 hours would not be sufficient, I don't think. So I did reach out to Beth Goodman just a little while ago and explained that we probably need an updated estimate of time from her, of how much time she would need.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm in favor of a joint working group. I think I'm not sure that would be very productive.
I'm not sure having a follow-up discussion with the select board next week is going to be constructive when we haven't had our own legal review. I think that we need to make the edits that we are talking about making, and we need to get a legal review by a counsel representing us, and then have a discussion. I think that it's premature yet. I just don't want to have it. I just don't want to have a meeting that isn't going to lead to productive outcomes because we're not ready yet to have that discussion.
Well, I don't
Yeah,
think
no, I agree.
the whole commission hasn't had an opportunity to look at all of these things and to come up with an opinion of where we go next. So
We haven't, and I feel like, yes, Robin's not here, Scott's out of town, Robin's out of town. So, I feel like we need to have our own process where we meet. And I feel like some of these decisions have to be made by all of us, by all 5 of us, not even this very qualified and wise subgroup of 3 that is here tonight.
Well, and I think we need to, like you said, revise in response to all the comments that we got,
Right.
and then kind of move on. It's like the
Right.
first step is to take all those comments from the public from last night and that we got in the mail and make the changes that we feel are right to the regulations based on that, and then kind of go to the next step of meeting with.
I agree.
I'm on vacation.
And then I think we need to review
you're on-
that along
and
with
you're-
Janice, you know.
And we need to
before
review
go.
it with Janice, right? And I agree, you're on vacation, and
I'm on
honestly,
vacation.
next week I have a lot going on. I just have a lot going on. I'm out of town on Monday, for some family medical stuff, and I'm out of town at the end of the week, and really, I need a night off.
And Beth and
Yeah.
Robin are both out of town next week.
And Robin and Scott, well, Scott is not available, I don't think, next week either, so.
Then we don't even have quorum.
I don't
so
even
there
think
you
we
go.
would have quorum, right? Beth, if you're not, I'm not sure we would have quorum, so,
I mean, I think I could probably attend their meeting to listen to their discussion, but
yeah.
you know,
If you want.
well, it depends on when they post it and what it is, you know, because I got stuff too, but anyways.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I mean, if we decide, we tell them we don't have quorum, I doubt they would even, talk about this, right? They would just,
Well, I think they would just go and I consider the requests. The requests we were in,
Oh.
so hopefully they will
Yeah.
vote on them. I did send the email, which I CC'd everybody on, where I asked for some clarification from Becky about kind of, the fact that the 5 hours, if they're envisioning that the 5 hours of time that we would be allotted for legal review would be including that working meeting, or were they thinking of authorizing hours on top of that? Because if that was an hour meeting and, the attorney needs an hour to prep for that, that's, 2/3 of our entire budget.
yeah.
And so that would be my concern. And so what I suggested to emailing Beth, I said, could you give me a realistic estimate of how much time you need to review a draft, given that there's already been a couple of legal reviews. So it maybe will make it easier for her because, we'll have a better version for her to review.
And we also wanted her to review our draft bylaws too, correct?
Well, that's a whole different topic. So I didn't ask her about that because I don't know what the select board's ideas are. I got sort of the impression at the meeting earlier this week that they were thinking perhaps that they would like Gregor McGregor to be the one doing that review for us. I'm not really sure how that would work since he's representing the select board. And so he's not really, our counsel. Especially
I
because
mean,
I don't know.
I don't think he's their counsel for Law 032. When it comes to the regulations and the bylaw, I feel like he just is there to review it for the whole town, including the Concom. Like what's best for everybody. There's not a battle back and forth. But yeah,
No.
they did mention him, and I'm wondering, did they want him to draft something, or did they want him to work with us with have the working group and have him act? Because that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for any lawyer.
Yes.
And he's number one for
Yeah.
wetlands in the state.
Yeah.
If he wants to come to a working group meeting with us and help us draft a bylaw that meets all the points that he was the one that mentioned need to be in there, great for the town.
Well, I think that the working group meeting was not about the bylaw. I think it was about the regulations.
The regulations, yeah.
So I agree with you. And, what I would like to propose is that, and I've already sent it to the select board as a private individual. So I put together a draft bylaw. I'm jumping around here on our agenda. So
That's okay.
Apologies if I'm missing part of the agenda because I'm no longer looking at it. Let me pull up the agenda. So where did it go? I've got too many tabs open again. Hang on a sec. I lost my agenda.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's beneficial to have a lawyer sitting on the working group. I think it's more beneficial for the working group to respond to, for example, the bylaw draft that you did, make our comments, and then have somebody respond to it. It's a lot of money, as you know, and a lot of time to sit in a working group and to pay an outside consultant to do that. I think if anything, you should be paying them to review our work if that's what we need to do.
Yeah, but I mean, that works too. I've just really feel like both bylaws and regulations, once the people who draft it, which really should be the Conservation Commission, create a draft that they feel like is close to being final, that some legal expert, really needs to go
Yes,
through,
I agree. Yeah.
that makes sense to me.
So
And if the town seems to be pushing Greg McGregor to do it, and if they're going to pay for it, it's okay.
So what I would like to propose, because the draft bylaw that I produced, which the commission has not reviewed yet, about 90% of it is just taken straight out of the MAC model bylaw. I took a couple of recently adopted bylaws that got approved by the Attorney General's office in the last 2 years, and I added some content from those. And I added some content from some MACC trainings that I had attended, Janice and I had attended with Nathaniel Stevens, who is Gregor McGregor's partner, and who presented content that you could incorporate into new bylaws. So I think that is a starting place, and I'm not wedded to this draft. I'm open to changes to it and edits, but it just gives us something to start with, and if people want to tear it apart and say it's terrible, that's fine too, because the bylaw, it has to be something that the town supports. But I would imagine that most of it will pass muster with Gregor McGregor, because he wrote most of it himself personally. He wrote the model MACC bylaw, so I'm using his content almost verbatim. So but maybe there's tweaks, since that model that they have up on the website is dated like 2016, and so that's 7 years ago. Maybe there's more better stuff that they just haven't put up on their website. So but yeah, so I would like to ask the commission if we could ask the select board to use that as a base and to begin the process of getting a working group for the new bylaw development.
Yeah, that sounds good. I mean,
a working group of conservation members.
Yeah,
yeah,
group of us, and
Yes.
and if the select board hires a consultant to work with us, what I would like, I think that ideally for a bylaw like this, I think Janice would be excellent also to participate in this, because she's had a lot of experience with bylaw development, not just here in Shutesbury, but for some other towns as well where she's worked. But we need, it's a, bylaw is a legal document. So, having a lawyer involved is very important.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. Well, yeah, like the working group would obviously be the Conservation Commission, and then I don't know who else would they want? One person from the select board, or I'm not sure, because I don't know how Shutesbury writes bylaws.
But I'd like to, suggest you send it out and we take a look at it and accept comments about it.
Haven't I shared it with everybody?
I don't remember actually. Yeah, I was so busy looking at regulations. I'm not sure that you shared the bylaws.
I'm gonna send it out again, and I'll send it again to the select board and present it as a preliminary working document.
And then maybe we do the same thing we did before, is have all of us get together in a working meeting to walk it through and talk about it.
So the process, and I don't think there is a process. We don't develop bylaws very often in Shutesbury. I know in planning, the planning board process for the solar bylaw was that primarily it was town council working with 2 planning board members. And because they were not a working group and they were sub quorum, they didn't have to do it as an open meetings. when you establish a working group, everything will be an open meeting. They did it differently. They just, it was primarily one planning board member working with town council and then running the draft by another planning board member until they got it to a place where they were ready to share it with the planning board as a whole. And sometimes that's a good way to do it, just because, you know, committees are not designed to work quickly and efficiently. Sometimes two people working together can get something banged out in working shape faster. But that's the thought process that they used.
Okay.
But we already have a draft that we can work off of. You know, it ticks off all the boxes that, you know, I think are resource area protections. And, you know, as we've been learning and as, you know, has been described, you know, the most important things about a bylaw are what it protects, you know, which resource areas and what definitions and standards are in it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Sounds good.
So I will send that out again. And I would like everybody's permission for me to put it up on our website.
Yeah.
I was a little concerned by the discussion at the select board meeting because it sounded like the work had been done and we were starting from scratch and we hadn't even thought about the whole bylaw, a new bylaw, and you know that hasn't been the case. So we have something.
Yeah, I think you should put it up and let people take a look at it.
Yep, I think so too. Okay, I will do that. All right. I think that's covers all of those things. You know, there was we did have a discussion at the July 11th meeting with the select board about, you know, the policy regarding accessing legal counsel. And there was some confusion and discussion about what was the use that we put Beth Goodman to, and what was the scope of her engagement. I'm not going to review all of that except to say, you know, I think that everything has been proper and appropriate and within the scope that was authorized, both by the select board and by the Conservation Commission.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know the specifics of that, but I mean, I think the lesson there is just that, you know, moving forward, anytime we want to have a special counsel, we need to go through the select board and be sure that we're getting the permission.
We did. No, we did.
Yeah.
They voted to approve the special counsel. They voted to approve her.
Yeah.
I think possibly I can't remember whether the select board signed off on her engagement. I know I gave a copy of the engagement to the select board, so they certainly could have signed it.
I think there was just some confusion about the scope.
And there was, so that issue, I mean, I think it's very clear that she was approved by the select board. Yes. She was approved by the Concom. I don't think there's any question. There was questions about the scope.
And I think we just need to be clearer as we move forward what we want people to do.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. So the other thing that I've asked the select board to respond to and make a decision about was that there was a resident who made a offer of a donation to the Conservation Commission to set up a fund for us to use for legal reviews for the bylaw work. And we are unable to accept a donation. The town has to accept that donation and then agree to allow it to be earmarked with whatever earmark the donor is requesting. Otherwise, you know, it can't work. So I've asked have that put on the agenda. And hopefully that will get discussed as well. All right. Next item on the agenda is that we have an emergency certification for the Lakeview Road culvert beaver dam breaching that happened on June 23rd, 2023. So that was after our last meetings. It's funny, it seems like it was a long time ago and we must have met, but we actually had, we haven't met. We didn't ratify it, right? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
So this was the highway department removing that beaver dam that's under that box culvert because it was starting to impound more water. And the landowner on the non-lake side was unable to use the box culvert to access the lake with their campers for canoeing, and felt it was a safety concern for them to be moving kayaks and canoes across Lakeview Road. So they really wanted to have access to the culvert. So the culvert was breached, and the conditions that we had agreed to put in the permit was that there had to be a MESA filing. They had to file with Natural Heritage because that was the guidance we got from Natural Heritage, that even something as small as a beaver dam being breached, Natural Heritage has jurisdiction over. So we require the town to give us proof of having filed. And actually, just as a point of fact, that we've issued 3 emergency certifications recently where we put that in as a condition. 2 of them were at the lake for work around that culvert, and 1 was up on Montague Road for that beaver dam work because the upstream pond is in Natural Heritage mapped priority habitat. And so the MESA filings never happened, and Natural Heritage contacted the town and ordered them to stop any work at that location, at that culvert, and is requiring them to file retroactive MESA permits.
Retroactive for all of the projects you just listed, or just the one on the lake?
Just the 2 on the lake is my understanding.
Okay.
They're not required, so that's happening. So we need to ratify. We need to ratify that emergency certification.
Right. I make a motion to ratify the emergency certification for the Lakeview Road beaver breaching.
Second.
Okay, David.
Aye.
Stefan, aye, and Wilson.
Aye.
Okay, Sawmill River updates. So Mary and I had, I thought, a really good conversation with the contractor, and Beth, were you at the meeting last Friday, that late afternoon meeting? I can't remember. Who was at that meeting? It was Robin. So you didn't get this. We met with the project manager last Friday at 5 o'clock.
Yeah, I was there too.
Mary was there, and we expressed concerns that the dewatering plan was based on low flow projections, and we're in very, very high flow projections. Carrie?
Sorry, did you say that I was at this meeting?
No.
Okay. Mary.
Oh,
Mary.
okay. I was gonna say I don't think I was at that meeting. Just wanted to make sure. Sorry.
No. So in fact, right now, there's kind of flood conditions in that area. And so we were very clear that we are very concerned, and we wanted to know what were their contingency plans, because they were acknowledging that the dewatering plan is based on flow predictions that are currently lower than the current conditions. The current conditions are higher than what they designed for. So,
and they wanted us to adjust the schedule.
That was last week.
That was Friday. Yeah.
Right. No, I'm talking about today.
Oh, you're going to today now? Okay.
Yeah. So we did adjust the schedule for them. Last week we issued a letter, which I'm pretty sure I forwarded to everybody. Did you get the copy of the letter?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did everybody get it? I think I did. But so, you know, they seemed a little worried about it. I think that they were honest and straightforward and saying, yeah, this could be a problem. This is, and it's hard to know. They're not going to begin the in-water work until August 1st. And the in-water work where they're going to need to use the bypass pumping is going to take about 3 weeks. So, you know, it's possible the weather will change and it'll be more favorable. But if it's not, there could be an emergency situation that could lead to, you know, some, you know, really bad things happening to their work site and to the river downstream. So they do have an option of bringing in a high capacity pump. And they have one reserved, but it's not going to be mobilized to the site until they think they need it because it costs money to rent it. So we did ask, they didn't have authorization to bring it to the site if they needed it. So we asked them and Becky to arrange that so that if there's an emergency, they can just get it to the site and use it. They said they can have it up and running in 12 hours.
No, that's great. I think it's always good to have a contingency plan.
Yes. So we talked about a few other conditions. We looked at the tree removals that they were asking for, and we gave some approvals for tree removals. We looked at the erosion controls. There were some suggested changes to some of the erosion controls. So that I thought was a good outcome. And we just kind of reviewed a couple of other conditions, including that they monitor if there's any aquatic organisms that get stranded during the dewatering, you know, that they move them along their happy way. They just monitor for turbidity. Because, and we may need to make some site visits if there's a lot of flow going on. We may want to take a look ourselves periodically just to see if the outfall post-treatment, you know, the sediment treatment is enough, you know, to erosion, if sediments, if there's a lot of, you know, suspended solids. So I guess that's to be seen. I don't think we have anything more from that. Just want to give that update. Lot 032 BVW restoration update. So Mary and I made a couple of site visits on the day that the restoration work was happening. I think we went separately, not the same time. And Mary and I went out the next day on Friday. Didn't we do that on the 22nd, maybe 23rd? And they ended, I mean, it looked all in good order. The restoration work that they did back in the back of the lot and BVW3 is very minimal. They really only took a couple of feet out. Because apparently they established a wetland line and determined that the rest of the projected restoration area was not filled. So
a couple of feet down, you mean, or a couple of feet wide, or
horizontally wide?
Okay.
So
how deep down did they go?
Maybe 2 feet.
Okay.
So there's a slope that was, you know, had a couple of really steep slope that had erosion matting on it. I haven't gone back to look with the heavy rains to see how those erosion matting is holding up. And it would be probably a good idea for us to see that. We have a site, we need to have a site visit with them before they issue their first 1 month post-construction monitoring report. And I made a mistake, and my bad, and I apologized to Marianne about this. When I first read through the conditions, I thought the report was due a month from the date that the permit was issued. But of course, that doesn't make any sense. It should be a month from the work being completed. So I misstated that, and I caught it and corrected. She caught it and I corrected it. So my apologies about that confusion, but that we need to have a site visit with them. And the proposal was to meet, I believe, next Wednesday at 3:30. But Beth is out of town. It could be earlier in the day. That would be okay with me. The only reason why we were doing 3:30 was to accommodate Beth. So I'm not available on the 20th. I can't do that date. So what do you think, Mary? Because it might end up just being you and me. Maybe Robin will be back, but you're muted.
You're muted.
Yep, Mary. Yeah, I have a doctor's appointment at noon that I'm not sure I'll be back from to do a. It would be pretty tight for me to get back.
At all that day?
Well, it would have to be later afternoon for me.
All right. What do you want to do? You want to, what time would work for you?
Let's see, 12 to 1, 1 to 2, well, sometimes 3 or after, 3-ish.
Can you do 3:30?
I could probably do 3:30
You
on
want
the
4?
19th, right?
Yes. Would 4 be safer for you?
3:30 would be fine.
Okay. All right. Well, that was the time we were talking about. So we'll keep that. I'll confirm that. And that sounds good. What else do we need to think of? I'm going back. Okay, we did so for, I think that's all we need for those things. Mary and I did a site visit for a building permit application at 373 Pelham Hill Road. They want to build a garage with a dug foundation. And there were a couple of concerns on the property. One is that there's a lot of wetland vegetation looking like an isolated wetland about 30 feet from where they want to do the work. The other concern is that where they want to do the work, there's very high surface water hydrology. There's pooling water. It looks to me like, it's a disturbed area that they've been using as a parking area. And it's was deep mud. So that's a concern. Obviously it's a disturbed area, so it doesn't have wetland vegetation on it. But it is also close to an area that might have hydric soils. So my recommendation would be that we ask the applicant to get a wetlands delineation and come back to us with it.
Yeah.
We're on right now too.
Oh, hi.
Hi, this is Rebecca and Dave. We're here.
Oh, hi, thank you for coming. Great.
No problem. We popped in just at the right time, I think.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
Okay.
So it's just so you understand, we can go out and identify areas that we have as concerns, but it's the applicant's responsibility to present us with information about wetlands if you want to get a permit approved. So that's where it kind of falls on you. And so what we would recommend and ask is that you reach out to a wetland scientist who can evaluate. And there are several in the area. We have, I believe, a list on our website. If not, I can email it to you, or Carrie can email it to you, our land use clerk, of where we have a list of consultants that are commonly used in the area. We don't recommend any of them in particular, but it's sometimes helpful to people to know who's around.
Okay.
No, yeah, totally appreciate you guys coming up and looking. We'll take care of that.
Yeah, it's a small area. It's not going to be very costly to do this, because they're not going to have to delineate your whole property. They just need to kind of look at, within 100 feet of where you want to do the work.
Okay. Yep. And we'll just let you know when it's all set.
Well, send us the report.
Okay, sounds good.
And we'll take a look at it and we'll talk about it at our next meeting if we get it in time, or as soon as we get it. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, site visit scheduling. So we talked about Lotto 32. There's a few more things we need to schedule. So reminder, we already have a site visit scheduled for tomorrow at 3:30. Beth? You don't get to squirm out of this one, do you?
No, no, I'll be there. I'll be there.
Okay, okay. So
We're
this
meeting at Jeff Lacey's
Jeff Lacey's
driveway.
house. I think Penny Jakes is joining us. I think maybe Gail Fleischiker, and Jeff Lacey, and also Stuart, whose last name I can't remember, who works for Kestrel, who did the baseline survey for the CR restriction.
Yep.
And we'll take a look at areas for trail development and parking area. So we have two applications that have come in recently, and we need to do site visits for them. One is 17 Cove Road for an RDA that will be reviewing at our next meeting, and they've asked to do it on a Saturday or a Sunday. So it doesn't have to be this weekend. It would have to be this weekend or the following weekend.
What's it for?
They want to, it's a small project. We did an RDA for them, if you remember, for a shed not too long ago. Now what they want to do is tear off a small addition to their house and enlarge it for put in a larger bathroom, a handicap accessible bathroom. So it's a pretty small addition. But this is a property that has, well, it's within the buffer zone of the lake, but it also has a BVW on the side of the property. So it's in the buffer zone to 2 resource areas.
Well, I'm away both weekends because I'm on vacation. But then I'm back. After I'm back, I guess I'm back July 24th.
What day of the week is that?
Monday.
Monday. Yes, so that wouldn't be enough time for the hearing. So Mary, do you want to do this with me?
When are you looking to do it?
I don't know. They want to do it on the weekend, Saturday or Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Are you
That's
around?
fine. Yeah, I should be around.
What do you prefer, morning or afternoon?
Well, the 15th, it depends on which day. The 15th, I have LWAC in the morning.
Okay.
I don't think I have anything on the 16th.
Sunday. Okay. Sunday morning is usually not a good time for me. I could do Sunday at noon. How's that sound?
I could do noon.
Okay. I will check with them about that and let you know.
Okay.
And then we got a notice of intent for 57 to 59 Shore Drive. This is Donna West is the landowner, the Wests, and they're tearing down a house and reconstructing it. So one of the issues in the application was that they're proposing some alteration of bank, and they did not submit a MISA filing. So I did clarify with DP that they have to submit a MISA filing because they're altering bank, and the natural heritage priority mapping is extends to the top of the bank around the lake. So
I forget, it's a fish, right? Is it a fish?
we can't talk about that. I don't know.
Oh, we can't?
Well, we can talk about it. I'm not going to say what it is. But anyway, top of bank. So I haven't heard back from them about what their plan is. So the process would be that right now the NOI is basically incomplete because this is a requirement under state law. So it's
right.
The DP has said they cannot issue a file number, and they won't review the application until the MISA filing happens. And we can't open the public hearing until we have a file number. Right. So really, until we know when they're going to file, I can't schedule the public hearing.
Okay.
And then once they file, we can't close the public hearing for 30 days. You have to give a 30-day window at least, unless Natural Heritage weighs in sooner, and sometimes they do. You have to wait until Natural Heritage responds, which
right.
is 30 days or less. If they don't respond after 30 days, then we can close the public hearing and issue the permit.
Right.
So I think just because I know the property, it's almost across the street from me. Whatever
Okay.
we do for a site visit, I think we need more rather than less commissioners. Because there's several, it's right on the lake. They want to move the driveway to a different position. They want to rebuild the culvert that goes under their property for water drainage. It'll be a new septic tank.
Oh, yeah, they're redoing the whole septic system too.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
it's a big project that I think
Yeah.
with lots of things, it could probably all be worked out, but it's probably something we all need to look at because it has lots and lots of things to look at.
I agree. So I would like, and I don't know what their availability is, but I think maybe we should try a weekend site visit. And let me look at my schedule in July.
Yeah, they're usually up on the weekends more so than any other time.
But Beth, you're back on the 24th. Assuming that we're not doing this on the 27th, I mean, we could try to do it on the 29th.
I think you need to do a site visit before you open the public hearing.
I know, but if they insist on opening the public hearing for some reason on the 27th, then we would have to do that earlier weekend.
Mhm.
And Beth's not back. But we could try to do a site visit during the week when Beth is back.
Yeah, I mean, don't you feel like maybe we just wait and see when they submit the notice of intent? Or
Well,
when they submit to Natural Heritage, or are they doing it right away?
I don't know. They haven't responded. I mean,
Yeah.
I imagine they're regrouping because they weren't planning on this. And so,
Yeah.
okay. Well, this is, I will be in touch and,
Yeah, because I mean, if they call tomorrow and say we submitted, then maybe we through email we can set up a time, a date to visit. But maybe they won't submit for a little while, and then
I don't know. Okay. Email them to ask when filing. I'm going
So
to.
Carrie, could you just print me out? I'd like to look at a printed copy of their site plan.
Okay.
It's
Yeah,
hard to read on
They
that.
came by and dropped off 2 hard copies, so they should,
Oh,
they're
great.
larger, but they should be much easier to read than if I were to print it off.
Oh, that would be wonderful.
Okay. So a couple of unanticipated business items. I just wanted to give you guys an update, thinking that there's some CR monitoring that has to get taken care of this summer and fall. Every year, the commission needs to authorize someone to do a CR monitoring site visit for the Sumner Mountain Conservation Restriction, which the commission holds. And we've historically hired Charlie Eisman to do it. It's a big plot of land and it's steep, and it's not necessarily the one that I would prefer to do. I wanted to just get the commission's approval for me to reach out, and I've already reached out to him and he can do it. Same amount of cost that it was last year. I don't know what it was. It was like $300 or something, but it's
okay with me.
fine. Sounds good.
And then we'll have to arrange a CR monitoring visit for the Old Peach Orchard CR. But maybe we can do that later in the summer. Just want to kind of make sure everybody's thinking about that. We don't forget about it. Okay, I think that's all I've got. Is there anything else that we have missed that we need to talk about tonight? No, good.
I think so.
I don't think so.
Short meeting. All right.
Yay.
Did I see that Penny Jakes was on the call for a second? I don't see. Yeah, she's there. Hi, Penny.
Hi, Miriam. I thought you were starting at 7. I'm sorry. I had hoped to listen into the Lot 032 discussion.
Not a lot of discussion. We're trying to arrange a site visit, and I think the plan we had emailed about back and forth about was next Wednesday at 3:30.
Perfect.
And I forgot to mention that I think, and I'm correct, that the town is not going to be using Fuss and O'Neill as their long-term monitor. The plan is using Ward Smith. Is that right?
correct. It was a fraction of the price.
I bet it was.
And he's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have to pay an hour of travel each way. So he'll be good. He's very, very well versed in all of that. So
yeah, that's fine. That's good.
Yep.
Okay, so we will meet. It's going to be, I think, Mary and me, I think, is all we got, right?
Okay. Well, it's, it's small.
Yeah.
So that's good. May I ask you a quick question before you end your meeting?
Yeah, but I was going to ask you about the site visit tomorrow. Is that what this is about?
Tomorrow.
Aren't we? We're going to look at your
joint. Yes. What if it happens if it's pouring rain?
Oh, good question.
We are going to cancel. Is it going to be pouring rain?
Supposed to rain, yeah.
There's unfortunately there is a chance of rain, and yeah, I guess we won't know till tomorrow, but
oh, it says mine's saying by afternoon 70 to 80% and showers. I think that we should reschedule it.
Okay, are there people other than the commission and
was Gail going to come?
People? Was anyone from Kestrel coming? Or?
Yeah, there was somebody from Kestrel was coming, and I think Jeff might. I can email everybody.
Okay,
we'll just
that's too bad.
It is, but that makes sense. And we'll may have to do it later in the summer because everybody's got travel plans coming up. And
okay, and then I have one last thing that concerns the commission, and it's this little park at the top of the lake.
Yeah,
that I've been slogging away at. I don't know. I didn't see if Robin is there tonight, but Robin and I went out last year during the growing season and tried to battle the glossy buckthorn that is profuse along the shore. I would love to do a site visit with a couple of commissioners to look at it and come up with a strategy for trying to deal with that.
Sure.
Okay, so just tuck that away for at some point.
Okay, let's think about this. We are going to be have a site visit sometime in the near future down by the lake. So maybe combine it.
Yeah,
it might be when Robin gets back, since Robin's been doing it.
Well, the buckthorn is there. It's not like it's an emergency, but it would be great to come up with a plan for that. And I'd also, things are just about done. I'd like everyone who's interested to come and see it before we do some sort of modest official opening over the summer. So
that'd be nice. Do you have some plan for signage?
I have ordered through, so I have one sign. I have the sign that we all agreed upon for the rules and regulations. And then I just ordered another sign that basically just says top of the lake conservation area in big letters that will go. So those, the highway department's gonna help put not help. They're going to put those in the next week or two.
That's great.
Yeah.
We'll figure that out. And yeah, I've looked at it a couple times in the last 6 months and it looked beautiful. So it's very nice.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it'll be nice. Okay, thanks.
Oh, wait, don't go yet. I have a question for you.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So I'm wondering about Southbrook Conservation Area. I think that we should,
I
think that we need to schedule another site visit.
Yeah, I agree.
And one of the things that I would like to suggest, there were a couple people who reached out to me recently who are kind of interested in maybe trails work.
That would be wonderful.
And I'm thinking that maybe we need to go out and review the tree. One of the questions is whether there's any tree maintenance that needs to be done. Whether there's any trees that we need to consider that might be a safety hazard on trails.
Well, we also talked about possibly rerouting some trails a little bit. And I still, my initial goal in all of this was to end up with a trail map, which we sort of have from Liam, but not exactly.
Not enough.
Yeah, not enough.
And there were some other crossings, wetland crossings. I mean, we got one that was very quickly fixed, which was wonderful.
Right.
But there are others that we also had thought needed some improvement. I had a brief conversation with somebody, and I'm forgetting his name. I have an email, who does trail assessments and mapping and more comprehensive sort of trail planning, then, you know, certainly what Liam did is a good starting point, but would be more actionable for creating a brochure. And you know, I'd like to maybe think with everybody about, you know, how we could possibly get that kind of survey done.
That would be great. And that's actually what I hoped Liam would do more of. I will tell you, when I put in that little CPC project for Southbrook, I had wanted just a tiny bit of money, enough to map the trails, and that was not an eligible project. So so I sort of folded in
what about an assessment, Henny?
That's what Liam did. They just
yeah.
So we can't go back to the CPC
with another assessment.
So anyway, we need to be creative.
There is grant money out there.
There is grant money out there.
And you know,
and we can go back for trail improvement money to the CPC and parlay that onto an external grant.
Right. The thing about the trail improvement money is we probably need an assessment. It's always how it is with grants. You need to have an assessment.
Well, we sort of have an assessment, and the assessment says the trails need some work. I hope that's enough of an assessment.
Yeah. The guy I talked with said he could like give a detailed, like even, you know, pricing out how much things would cost sort of thing, where we would then be able to have.
That would be great. I do not feel comfortable going back to the CPC for more money for that.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
So maybe we need to look at whether there's any grants that we could do to get that assessment done. And I think we should just keep that kind of in our minds.
Me too.
There is some money. You do have some money left on that grant. Is there like
I have a little some money left from that grant, right? And that I had planned on using for a map. But we're not at the point where we could do that.
Would it make sense for me to reach out to him and see if we could use that $1,000 for him?
It would not. It would be fine by me. I'm just not sure how the CPC would. I mean, we would just have to position it a little differently somehow.
Well, the grant was the $1,000 is part of that whole grant for
assessing the trails, which is what Liam did. So I'm just saying you'd have to use slightly different language. Because Liam did assess the trails, he just didn't. The product he produced was not as usable as I thought it would be.
Yeah. Well, you're kind of the project manager for this grant. Would you be willing to approach the CPC and ask them whether this $1,000, you know, I maybe to say we got a good start with the assessment for Liam, but in order to, like, say, apply for further grants, we're going to need
that's a good idea. That's a good idea.
We're going to need, you know, budget estimates and some design estimates for those crossings. And so that would be what I would hope. And I bet for $1,000 we could get that, because it's really a, you know, guy has to go up, you know, guy goes out, walks the trails and
for a couple of hours and writes up thoughts. I'll do that if you send me the guys. Well, I'll contact the CPC. I don't know, Beth, do you know what their meeting schedule is?
No, I'm a new member and nobody has sent me anything yet. So
you have to get sworn in too, Beth. So you got to go to town hall. You got to make an appointment with Gray Spanish and get sworn in.
Yes. You know, what was strange about that was after the meeting where they, you know, that last meeting where they appointed me, I actually got a letter in the mail talking about, it was like my official letter of being put onto the Conservation Commission, which somehow got voted in June of this year.
Oh, you were up for renewal.
Was I up for renewal? Okay.
Oh no, sorry, you're stuck with us.
No.
Yeah, surprise.
Do you want to stand? commission.
That's my CPC appointment, but then it wasn't my CPC
Yeah,
appointment.
well,
It was my Concom appointment.
We
so-
voluntold you to stay on the commission.
Yeah, usually
It
they
might,
have,
if, the
usually
other
they-
thing it might be worth is asking Evan and his group if they'd be willing to donate some money to improving the trails.
who is this?
Evan Jones.
Oh,
I don't know that we can actually solicit donations. I think that's a thing we can't do as a municipal board. I mean, people can volunteer stuff, but we can't go out and fundraise in that way. But I think that, you know, we could certainly advertise, you know, and there might be community, you know, that what our plans are. There's no problem with sharing with people what we're doing, but let's see if the CPC can let us use this $1,000.
yeah, I'll look at their schedule and inquire.
I will email the guy whose name I cannot remember, and
Mhm.
I will CC you, Penny, so that
Okay.
you're part of that dialogue, and maybe we can see what that would look like for him.
Okay. Sounds
And
like a
you know,
plan.
he could take Liam's initial assessment as a and we did have some preliminary discussion about trails that we wanted to maybe remove, for example.
I had hoped that we would reroute. It seems like there was one to reroute, one way to make a connection between some of the trails, and
That
one
whirlpool.
to perhaps close.
Yeah. Yeah, I think one of the ones that he wanted to close is over that bridge that all the people use.
Mm-hmm.
Be hard to get people, you know, it's hard to change behavior.
It is very hard.
Be very hard to get people to stop using that.
So I'll contact the CPC, you contact the guy.
The guy whose name I cannot remember, but I've got the
Thank
email.
you.
I'll figure it out. Okay, thank you.
Okay,
That's really
great.
great. And I
Good.
will send an email
Sorry,
that we're canceling tomorrow.
Sorry, I came in late. I've just been over meetinged really recently.
That's fine. Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right, I think we're done for tonight.
Motion to
Wait,
adjourn.
next meeting, just a reminder, is the 27th. And Mary made a motion to adjourn at 7:28. I will second.
Oh.
I get to second this time. Okay,
Great.
David,
Aye.
Yvonne, I, and Wilson.
Hi.
Okay, well, thank you.
Yay.
Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.
Yep.
Again, too. Bye-bye.